Hi everybody, this is Teacher Cheska. This is day 3 morning session, module 3 for 8:30 in the morning to 11:30 in the morning. So this is for science 9. Our topic will be the location of genes in chromosomes. Alright, for this lesson, you will be able to explain the chromosomal basis of inheritance and then identify the components of a DNA molecule. So you have to read lesson 1. So here you read about what's new. It says here unsa man ning traits, no? What is a trait? A trait is an observable or inherited characteristic of an organism from a parent determined by genes. Okay? For example, kulot ka, ana lugar straight imong buhok. So, those are traits. Now, what are genes? Aha manigi ka ng genes and asa man makitaan sa isa ka cell. So, it says also here, hold on, there. Genes are functional unit of heredity found in chromosomes, which are in the nucleus of a cell. Alright. So, here we will know that ang genes na isa ka siya ka unit, no? It's a unit of heredity. So, and it is found in chromosomes, which is inside the nucleus of a cell. So, you go back to your lessons before in science, nakabaluta ang cell na asay nucleus. Okay? So, here, it is illustrated in figure 1. So, if you'd notice, genes are sections of our deoxyribonucleic acid or DNA. So, let us know. So, what does DNA stand for? It is deoxyribonucleic acid. So, sa sulod daw sa DNA na dito ang genes. And they are in charge of different functions in life, like making one of the proteins called histones. So, in the DNA, because of the genes, it can create histones. So, you see, these are the histones. Histones provide support to a chromosome to be packed in the nucleus of the cell. So, ga-provide siya og support. So, the histones daw ang gahatag og support sa chromosome. Okay? And how do the genes determine traits? So, each gene has a special role in determining physical traits, how we look, and many others about us. They carry information that makes you who you are. Alright? So, muni siya ang code, no? Kung sa ano pa muni ang code, kung sa computer pa muni atong code, no, sa sulod sa isa ka computer or laptop or sa isa ka cellphone para mabuan nimo unsa ang iyang mga functions, di ba? So, muna siya ang gene. Now, these things or the genes, they are passed from one generation to the next in a family. So, for example, na uban na kulot ang mama, kulot po ang anak. O nga na ba? Yung anak siya, no? Mapasa-pasa siya. So, in this figure, in figure 1, you will see the chromosome structure. So, if this is the cell, this is the nucleus. Sa sulod sa nucleus na ang chromosome. Okay? Now, ang chromosome, kanitanan. Ang isa kay ngani muna siya ang chromatids. So, kani chromatid. Sa tunga, kung sila gamit, ang tawag ana centromere. Okay? So, here, this is telomere kaning nasa ubos. Kanang murag yan tail. This is the DNA, no? The double helix. It is described as a double helix. I think familiar na mo ana na term. And of course, these are the base pairs. Okay? So, the genes can be found here. And the histones are there, no, as support. All right, let us continue. To help you understand better some important concepts in the structure of chromosomes, we have to do this word search puzzle activity. So, here in your weekly home learning plan, you have to answer activity number 1, the word search puzzle. So, pangitaon nato ang words. Copy na lang nato ni siya and then answer. Are we clear? So, copy and answer. Butang sa inyong yellow pad paper, activity number 1, word search puzzle. Ibutang na po. Make sure butang nimo module 3. Okay? And then, you copy this and answer. So, ang buhaton, i-encircle lamang ang atong mga words, no? Fill and encircle. Okay, this is wrong. I would like to point out, dili ni siya horizontal. This is actually vertical and this is horizontal. So, nabaliktad. So, pag ingani, vertical. Paana, horizontal. Karo, diagonal, ingani. So, ang diagonal, ano siya. Positions for the words in the box above the puzzle. As you find the word, look for its meaning and write it on the space provided before each number. So, pangitaon nimo ang words na naa sa box. So, pangitaon nimo dinhi. So, just look for it and then isulat dayon nimo ang correct na word dinhi. So, unsa na siya? Okay? So, these are words. Then you answer. You look for them here, then you put the right word dire in its proper meaning. Okay? And then after answering that, you continue to read what is it on page 2 to 4. Okay. Who figured out the genes are on chromosomes? It was Walter Sutton and Theodore Boveri. So generally became popular for this insight. They found the best evidence that an inherited trait is determined by chromosomes. Boveri and Sutton's chromosome theory of inheritance states that genes are found at specific locations on chromosomes and that the behavior of chromosomes during meiosis can explain Gregor Mendel's law of inheritance, which you have learned in grade 8. Recall that meiosis is a process where a single cell divides into two to produce four daughter cells. So I hope you still remember your lessons sa grade 8, no? So dito, inyo na nag-discuss Mendel's law of inheritance. And now, inyo na po na discuss kaning meiosis. Meiosis is the process where a single cell divides into two and then produces four daughter cells. Okay? In the other process, I think you remember it's called mitosis. No? That one, it duplicates, no? Not really duplicates. One cell, it will give off two identical cells. Okay? So that also happens within our body. Okay. Continue reading observations that support the chromosome theory of inheritance. So, are the following. Just like Mendel's concept on genes, chromosomes come in homologous or matched pairs in an organism. Pag homologous ang pasabot ani, so pariha matched pair, no? So for example, ang na ay chromosome na how do I do this? Well, let me just think. Later, let me just basta ka nang pareha sila sa imong papa o sa imong mama. So sapol na ay blue eyes imong papa, na po'y blue eyes imong mama. So pag mag-match siya, homologous, ikaw blue eyes yun ka. Ana ba? Okay? Pero not all the time. Dili lang ingana ang isa ka pairing. Example lang to. One member of the pair of genes and chromosomes comes from the mother and one from the father. So that's what we say na homologous. Members of the homologous pair separate in meiosis. So each sperm or egg receives just one member. This process is just like the segregation of alleles into gametes in Mendel's law of segregation. So, words that to look up just in case you need to recall, no, and remember. You have to remember the segregation. So, Mendel also has the law of segregation, and then alleles, okay, and gametes. All right. The chromosomes and their related genes are sorted to gametes independently to one another in meiosis, just like the alleles of different genes in Mendel's law of independent assortment. Okay, a chromosome contains hundreds and thousands of genes. Each chromosome has a centromere. So, moto siya ang centromere, di ba? Mani ang centromere. Okay. Alright. And that joins together the two chromatids and divides also the chromosome into two sections or arms. The short arm of the chromosome is labeled the P arm. The long arm is labeled the Q arm. Okay. So, kaning dini, kaning gagmay, P arm, kani Q arm. Okay? And continue. The location of the centromere in each chromosome gives the chromosome its characteristic shape and can be used to help describe the location of the specific genes. Okay. Now, this is figure 2. How are genes located on chromosomes? Genes on each chromosome are arranged in a particular sequence, and each gene has a specific location on the chromosome called locus. Okay. Asa man ang location from the word location. So, asa man daw ang gene sa chromosome, ang tawag ana, kung aha siya makitaan, tawag ana kay locus. Kung daghan, loci. Diba? As shown in figure 2. It has been mentioned earlier that the gene is a section of the DNA that codes for a protein which expresses some given trait. Okay. Height, eyes, skin color, and others within the individual. Chromosomes usually contain thousands of different loci. Every chromosome comes in a pair, one from the mother and one from the father, parent, in diploid organisms like us, humans. So these pairs of chromosomes are called homologous chromosomes. Okay? In humans, there are 23 pairs. Very important to note, 23 pairs of homologous chromosomes. So we have 23 pairs, and therefore we have a total of 46 chromosomes. So 23 plus 23, 46. Homologous chromosomes have similar structure and shape. And number 2, they have genes that code for proteins that express the same trait. Okay? So, homologous siya kung naa siya similar structure, pare-pareha siya o shape and what its yung sa lugar, structure. Siya kadako. And ang sulod ana sa chromosome, it has genes na pareha sila og code, no? Genes that code for the same trait. Okay. They are also called alleles. So, ang alleles. There are 2 alleles of each genetic locus. Which one allele with one allele inherited from each parent. So, alleles are different forms of the same gene. So, pwede lugar ang isa ka allele kay para sa kalot na buhok, ang isa ka allele straight of hair. Pwede po ang isa ka allele ang color sa iyang buhok kay blonde, ang isa dayon kay black. Okay? Pero pareho sila buhok. So na medyo nasabtan na. So ang allele ang murag maghatag sa differentiation, malain-lain. So ang gene buhok pero ang allele lain. Okay, lahi. Unsay pagkalahi sa isa ka buhok sa lain na buhok. Dito na siya gikan sa allele. Alright? Okay, so, Ang allele codes, okay, so muni pasabot nato ani. Although alleles, so let me just highlight this one. Highlight this one a bit. So alleles are different forms of the same gene which are located on the same part of the chromosomes. Alleles code for the same trait but they do not need to be the same. For instance, so muni siya ko example. Ganina kaniyang example kay blue eyes o brown eyes. An allele pair might contain one gene that codes for blue eyes and the other gene for brown eyes. Notice that since homologous chromosomes have similar structure, any allele pair is usually found along the same locus on the chromosomes. So, pareha ra daw sila og location. Alright, let's go to 2 to 4. We're number 3. Okay, you have to read this also. You have already learned about chromosomes and inherited traits that genes produce of what material. Okay, what are genes made of? Okay. So, DNA is the genetic material that carries the hereditary information to ensure the continuity of life. So, very, very, I think, no, kabalo na gitaan na DNA is very important. Kanang, ang DNA sa I think this is the also the reason why the humans are very special, no, because we are that one organism wherein atong DNA mag-continue siya, dili gid siya mawala as long as na human na atay human DNA. Or like sa inyong pamilya, lugar, no, sila imong kalolo-lolohan. Kana ang DNA sa imong pinakauna na ancestor, no? Hantod karon na payapon na siya sa imo. Part ra gyapon siya. So munang murag dili yung ka maingon na nawala sa imong kaugalingon, nasa imuha ang sa imong DNA is it's not just your mother and father, it is also imong lolo, lola, ang ilang mga lolo, lola, naaya po na siya, part na siya sa imo. Okay? So, the structure was not determined daw until 1950s. And this was found out that James D. Watson, so these are scientists, no? James D. Watson and Francis H.C. Crick found out that DNA is composed of building units known as nucleotides. Okay, nucleotides here. And here is a structure of a nucleotide. It is built on deoxyribose sugar and phosphate group that supports the 4 nitrogenous bases. Okay, so muna siya ang imong upat ka bases. It's adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. Alright? So, mauni na sila. Now, okay, here, it just gives you one example. No? Example lang ni siya, one. And to support them, para magstay in place sila, you have the phosphate group and the deoxyribose sugar. Asa man nato ni makita? Muni sila tong naa dinhi, kung tan-awon nato sa picture, muna siya sila, no? That's the one here. Ano mga ladder light? Muna siya tong nitrogenous base with the phosphate. Murag close up lugar ni siya. Muna siya dayon. So, mo continue lugar na siya diha. Then natin diri tong other parts of the DNA. The deoxyribose sugar na siya sa gilid. Okay. So, now, the 4 bases pairs with each other. Kapartner sila. So, guanine pairs with cytosine and adenine pairs with thymine. Okay? So, the bases are complementary. They always appear opposite to each other on the helix. This is critical in the reproduction of genetic material as it allows a strand to divide, copy itself, and only needs half of the material in the helix to duplicate successfully. So, muni siya. In figure 4, notice the structure of the DNA is actually a double helix. So, muni siya, no? Takong giingon. And then, kung i-flat ni mo ni siya, so kung kani siya straight ni mo, kani din na mo gawas. Okay? So, this is then the sugar phosphate backbone. This is it. Katunay phosphate group, and the deoxyribose sugar. So, muna siya din. And then, sa tunga, muna siya ang atong nitrogenous bases or the hydrogen, and they are bonded by hydrogen. Alright? So, you have to answer activity number 2. Use long bond paper and refer to the page 8 for the DNA template. Okay. How to do this? You have to identify the components of a DNA molecule and construct a model of a DNA molecule. Materials, the cutouts of the basic units of the DNA, the scissor, crayons, okay, so kantanan. Alright. So, the cutouts are on page 8. Here. Okay. So, kopyaon lang ninyo ni siya sa bond paper. Okay? Kopyaon ninyo ni siya. And then, what you will do is, you can color it also if you want. And then, color the code. Okay, we have to color it. Adenine must be yellow. Guanine must be green. Thymine must be blue. Cytosine and red. Phosphate brown. And the deoxyribose sugar black. So, let's see. And then you use the small squares and stars as guide to line up the bases and the phosphates and the sugar. Attach the bases to the sugar using the circle as guide. Construct the DNA model using the sequence. So, yun lang ni awaton. Okay? So, thymine, adenine. Adenine, thymine. Cytosine. Again, partner siya. Complementary. So, T, ang partner niya si A, si T gapon, C and G, G and C. Okay? So, ing-ani good ang ilang how they will look like. Now, glue the parts together forming nucleotides on a long bond paper. Complete the right side of the ladder, and you have to turn them upside down in order to make them fit the left side. So, yes, let me show you what it should look like. Okay, so this is what it will look like. Alright? So, this is a sample. So, this is what muna siya dapat. So, again, ang cutouts na naman dito sa page 8, kopyahon lang, koloran, and then, ibaligid nimo siya, no, para mag-igo sila tanan. Karo? Okay. Okay, and after doing that, no, you answer on your yellow pad paper the guide questions. Okay? So, copy and answer. Alright? So, that is it for the morning session for day 3 in Science 9, Module 3. Thank you. Bye.